Hello everyone, and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Quezon City for the MSEM format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the round 1 match between BluesEclipse, who is on a red-white aggro deck named Copy Machine. It's called this because it also has a backup infinite combo with Fire Shaper Adept and Kinken, which allows you to create an army of infinite hasty 1/1s, and essentially the aggro game plan allows you to keep up pressure in the meantime. Bogborn Charger here is another important piece, because it allows you to give your powerful ETB creatures haste so you can get in more damage, and allows you to reuse their ETBs. Meanwhile, Mikkjal on the other side of the table is playing Blue-Black Horrors, which essentially is a control deck with a bunch of cantrips and card selection to find its win cons of Kedrikred Deep Dwellers. The cheap cantrips also help to essentially, the Kedrikred Deep Dweller has, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can give it lifelink. I believe lifelink, menace, and indestructible, so it essentially allows you to both find the interaction you need and protect your win con. So far, BluesEclipse is kind of already far and ahead by turn 2, having done 6 damage, and is going to just keep that up with the Tempered Onculumes. Mikkjal does have Strike from the Shadows to be able to destroy one of the creatures here, and then Unraveling can buy time. Eldritch Emergence is expensive for a wipe in this format. I think you really want your anti-aggro wipes to be like 3 mana, and then your wipes for everything else to be 4. Eldritch Emergence being 5 generally makes it unplayable, but it is one-sided with Mikkjal's win con, so I can see the justification. So yeah, Mikkjal's just gonna tap out for the Strike from Shadows. And it looks like Blues is now going to hard cast Tempered Onculum, drain Mikkjal for 2. Has a Kinken here, so next turn might be able to just start dropping even more Tempered Onculums. And with that, actually would make it a 2-turn clock. And Mikkjal, because Mikkjal fetch double black, does not have the mana for Unraveling, and is losing even more life to these fetches. So, yeah, this is looking like curtains for Mikkjal here. And the interaction that Blues is drawing, Eventurize and Out-of-Body Experience, isn't going to be super relevant in this matchup, but I don't think it's going to matter because Kinken, like I mentioned before, comes down, Blues gets to cantrip with it, and then name Tempered Onculum. Ooh, in response, Mikkjal is going to cast Opt. I guess trying to dig for a Strike from Shadows on the Tempered Onculum. Okay, bottoming a Kedrikred Deep Dweller. It is their only win con, but at this point they're so far on the defensive that, yeah, it makes sense to bottom it. Draws another island, which is bad in this current situation, but does give access to Unraveling next turn, which I don't think actually saves them because they take 6 this turn. No, wait, it does save them. Okay. So it's going to name Tempered Onculum. Actually, and they can use the -4, -0 mode to save themselves next turn. So they're not quite dead yet. And then if they draw another land, they'll be able to Eldritch Emergence. The problem is, at that point, Zadina Envoys creates 2 1/1s, and I think because of that, Mikkjal just has no outs. I think they're just dead. And yeah, Mikkjal is going to concede there. They lost too much ground before they could really set up, and their early fetching patterns, like if Mikkjal could have had a double blue on turn 3 to counter the Kinken, I think that game could have gone much differently, because that, like, the Kinken alone, like, tripled Blues' clock. But yeah, before we move on to the next game, let's look at sideboarding for each player. Starting off with BluesEclipse. I don't know that any of these are particularly useful in this matchup. Maybe Titan Snare because it turns off Eldritch Emergence, but I think in general, Blues' main board is an aggro deck that foregoes like pure speed for like having multiple angles of attack against control decks, so I think that Blues should just be favored in the main. Yeah, I think that Blues doesn't really have any bring-ins here. Meanwhile, for Mikkjal, you bring in all 3 Violent Collapses, you bring in the Memento Moris, and you probably take out, like, Spell Stutter is okay here, but not great. Engrave, I think, is genuinely actively bad versus aggro. So I think you take out like all four engraves, and then maybe like one Darklands charm for three Violent Collapse, two Memento Mori. Okay, getting into game two, Mikkjal drawing a six lander with only a Darklands charm. Um, BluesEclipse also, it looks like BluesEclipse is also keeping. Um, has turn one Fidelity of the Pure, brought in the Bearer of the Lantern. I'm surprised about bringing in Bearer of the Lantern, but I think the thought is that it's another recursive creature, but it seems a little slow at three drop. I'm curious about this also because like Mikkjal doesn't put on any pressure. Maybe there were cards in Blues' main deck which like maybe Blues took out like some of the removal for more threats. That would be a reasonable thing. But I'm also still seeing out of body plus Event Horizon here. So Mikkjal's going to keep at six this time. Has two turn one cantrips into I guess, but then can't play any of the cantrips turn one if they want to play Strike from Shadows turn two. Double black is a real cost, and I think that I think that unless if they're cracking the shine for a swamp, no, okay, I think this is a misplay because you don't. First of all, you're showing your hand too early. Like you're not making Blues play around Engrave potentially, and also like you want Strike from Shadows online to be able to actually kill something, so that you're not losing tempo. Because like, what are you going to do with your card selection? I guess you could find like a Violent Collapse or something, but yeah, Fidelity of the Pure is another card that just dunks on most control decks because sure it's a 1/1, but if they ever choose to wipe, you get another 1/1, and then you can immediately revive it usually. So you essentially triple its effectiveness if they choose to wipe. So it's a dangerous call. And yeah, on end, Mikkjal is going to opt, gets a Kedrika Deep Dweller. I think the lifelink on this would be nice. I think the problem is like, if Mikkjal plays this, it gets instantly Event Horizoned or out of body experienced. Okay, Mikkjal draws a Darklands charm, needs more interaction here. He's just going to pass though. Going to pretend to hold up Redo and force Blues to think about playing around it, but it's not like Blues has many options here. Only 2-drop is Journey to the Otherworlds, and you're kind of fine if that gets countered, honestly. So yeah, Journey to the Otherworlds coming down. You name Fidelity of the Pure with this, and you're making a 1/1 each turn. But could draw something better to name, but I doubt it. Oh, Fire Shaper Adept is actually something better because of the infinite combo potential. But Blues might be worried about counter magic on future turns and might think, I should just maximize on-board value, which I would also respect that. It's kind of a hard decision. Because you need two Fire Shaper Adepts to actually combo off, if I'm remembering the combo right. Because you need one to attack with and another one to copy the trigger of. Oh yeah, he's going to name Fire Shaper Adept, showing his hand a little bit, but also opening up the potential to just combo off. And on end, Mikkjal is going to play Darklands Charm, mode 1, presumably. Okay, and looks like with that, grabs a Violent Collapse. Violent Collapse into natural draw Strike from Shadows. This is definitely what Mikkjal wants to see. But still also could just lose to Fire Shaper if they don't have stack interaction, is the worry. Or if they ever tap out for the Kedrikit. Okay, Blues are drawing more lands, but not what you want to see in aggro when you're already topped up. So can drop. Yeah, I think the issue is it might have been safer to just drop Fidelity of the Pure, because then you could have curved it into the Sunblessed Orator and things would have been real nice. Because it's a free 2 damage each turn. So yeah, it is bringing out the Sunblessed Orator. Yeah, I'm... Maybe Blues is worried that, Mikkjal would just immediately untap, kill the Fidelity of the Pure, and that Fire Shaper is safer because, you can just instant speed combo off when they decide to tap out. But it seems like maybe a little bit too much of a high roll to me. Okay, Blues once again swinging for one with the Fidelity. Not much of a clock. In response, Mikkjal is going to cast Inner Thoughts. I think this is actually I guess you really want to draw land next turn. And there's the fourth land for Kedrikit. My main thought was that, Inner Thoughts is so much better when you can actually inscribe it. Because inscribing it onto Kedrikit Deep Dweller basically just means each turn I get free keyword plus card draw. Okay, and it's then going to Strike from the Shadows to kill the Fidelity of the Pure. Kinda don't agree with this because this just gives Blues more options. I think that killing the Sunblessed Orator here is a much better play. Maybe the thought is get it out of the way before I wipe, which I guess I can see that. But I think the Orator is the much more dangerous of the two creatures here. Oh man, and back-to-back violent collapses. If there's anything that Mikkjal needed to win this game, it's definitely this. If Mikkjal decides to tap out for Kedrika Deep Dweller this turn, though, Blues just, I think, Event Horizons and kills the Deep Dweller, and then can just tap 2 to revive Fidelity of the Pure, and then just offer the raises from there. Oh no, okay, Mikkjal's instead going to play it safe and Violent Collapse. Two for one's Blues, but not really, because Blues got the Fidelity of the Pure token for free. So I think that I guess the thought was Mikkjal has the other Violent Collapse, so why not? Ooh, and Ael Tizan is going to come down and make genuine trouble for Mikkjal, because oh no, Blues is going to be playing the Bearer of the Lantern. I think that this is I think that this is a huge mistake. You play the Mikkjal has a ton of creature interaction, but his only way to interact with planeswalkers is either playing a Kedrika Deep Dweller, which Blues can instantly kill, or by countering them. So I think that you don't want to play the Bearer when Mikkjal is tapped out. You want to play the IL. See, I think that was a big mistake on Blues' part. Unless there's some synergy/combo I'm missing, but I don't think I am. Okay, I think Mikkjal not tapping out for this Kedrika Deep Dweller turn after turn is actually just a problem. I think, I guess Mikkjal wants to pretend to have interaction for Fire Shaper to make Blues scared, but also dog, you're hemorrhaging because it looks like no, okay, Mikkjal just took the 2 damage because Mikkjal fetched there, so I thought maybe Mikkjal was gonna strike from shadows, but I'm like, if you strike from shadows here, you are hemorrhaging card advantage because Blues' creatures are all recursive. You need to put something down on the board, and then you can think about hey, I can interact here with stuff that is genuinely scary. Okay, main 2. This time Blues decides to play IL. Mikkjal could opt to try and find a counterspell here. Looks like Mikkjal is going to do that, going to opt. Doesn't draw one, draws Nereba, which is good if this game goes long, but for now is kind of not what Mikkjal wants to be seeing. And fortunately for Blues, IL does get to resolve, and this is going to put Mikkjal in a world of hurt. And this basically forces Mikkjal to play Kedrika to actually deal with IL at some point. I also think another thing that Mikkjal's deck is having trouble with regards to Blues' deck is that even if Mikkjal's deck was all card disadvantage because of the removal and stuff, not working on recursive creatures, could mitigate that by having some big draw spells or win cons that go over the top, but Mikkjal has neither of those is the issue. In an effort to have cheap ways of triggering Kedrika Deep Dweller, Mikkjal has forgone traditional card advantage engines, and Kedrika Deep Dweller is not a go over the top win con. You can't just windmill slam it and then have your opponent be answer it on the stack or die. It's very vulnerable, and we're seeing Mikkjal experience that firsthand. So now Blues is going to revive the Fidelity of the Pure, and then probably, let's see. Oh, can also tap out for this top decked Glory Singer, which makes that Violent Collapse in Mikkjal's hand just even worse, essentially. Okay, Blues is gonna buff up -3 AL to give +2/+0 to everything. Is gonna swing in for a fat 11 damage right here. A little greedy, I think, but I guess the idea is just to force pressure. Well, Strike from the Shadows is going to be able to take out Bearer of the Lantern, but it gets persisted back. Mikkjal still takes 7. And yeah, Mikkjal is just forced to Violent Collapse here. But Blues still has 1/1 from Fidelity of the Pure. Glory Singer hits, and then yeah, Mikkjal's just dead because of Isle Tizan. And man, what a game. And yeah, I think this match, more than anything, showed how well Blues' deck is built, to counter the traditional measures that control decks use to shut down aggro decks. Um, and that much is, and like how, like making that choice is definitely a worthy like meta slash. It's like it makes it so that like blue red burn, despite being far and away faster than Blues' deck, um, is still like it isn't like objectively the better choice depending on the meta, and I think that's super cool. But yeah, exciting to see. I think new brews on both sides of the table. I think I've been saying that every GP, but that's because we've been seeing cool and new decks for a while now, just as new people join the format and new sets enter and allow for new brews. And I think it would not be an exaggeration to say that Grand Prix Quezon City is the spiciest GP of maybe the past year and maybe of the format's entire history. So I'm excited to commentate more matches going forward to show you some of those decks. But until then, this is Caillou signing off.